Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Tobelani Nkosi Ngulube, the Group Chairman of MDG Cyberspace Group, Tech Group of Companies, and I'd like to welcome you onto the second part of our global IT networking. Now here we talk about the product offerings for MDG Cyberspace Pty Limited, which is our global IT networking division. Here we deal with the IPv6 transitional planning, which is a movement from IPv4, which is centralized IP addresses through your internet service providers, to your decentralized signals in terms of IP addresses. Then there's a networking architecture development to cater for this, the address allocation and management planning of the IP addresses, security policy development, platform integration, routing optimization for the packets of data that are sent on a network, application planning, mitigation planning, purchasing policy, testing and certification strategy, education and communication plans, as we believe at MDG Cyberspace Tech Group of Companies in empowering our users on our representative networks within our global IT networking division. Then we go on to routing analysis, which is basically the monitoring of data packets on a router within a given network. We have basically listening and participating in routing protocol exchanges between routers as they talk to each other through protocols, computing a real-time network routing map similar to the task performed by individual routers to create their forwarding tables, but computed for all routers. So basically they understand when they communicate with each other what kind of information is being sent on a data packet and how many packets are sent and the information, so it doesn't actually stagnate on that particular router. We've got monitoring and displaying routing topology, changing dynamically so as to cater for the different ways that information can be sent. Detecting and alerting on routing events and failures as routers announce them. So whenever there's a breakdown in terms of transmission of a data packet, and this leads to an excess which actually stagnates the network or causes the network not to function at all, we at MDG Cyberspace Tech Group of Companies use that as a means of actually monitoring and actually applying corrective action for data packets that are transmitted on a network. Recording, analyzing and reporting on historical routing events and trends in the determining of what-if business scenarios, where we look at robust business scenarios for the purposes of capacity planning, which means that for a particular entity, for a particular individual, for a particular government entity, we look at how best we can suit their capacities and their needs, and then scalability, which means that is the adaptability of the network to make it streamlined and more efficient. Analyzing the impact of routing changes on the as running network before they happen. And then we've got the key technological aspects for MDG Cyberspace Tech Group of Companies. The technology used in IPv6 with advanced speed in the use of broadband technology and routing analytics, networking management via satellite, is the interlinking of routers and satellite connection in making IPv6 a greater experience through the incorporation of broadband technology. Corporate routers to understand IPv6 packets on the independent transmission mediums that are used for compliance to Cisco and Juniper standards, and the adaptation to cater for broadband technology for greater speed. Deployment of ATMs as an ideal transmission medium for IPv6 backbones, thus enabling scalability of the network. The use of UPSs in the consistent power supply to routers and core devices to ensure that power supply is always available, and business continuity sites for each of the command stations for both space and earth. Broadband technology and sufficient capacity planning for routing analysis to ensure that critical functions of MDG cyberspace are maintained. Then we go on to the remaining part of the key technological aspects. Technology to counter the basic security threats and countermeasures to ensure that the network's efficiency and effectiveness through routing analytics are not compromised from an internal and external threats with added bonus usage of algorithms and complex event processing on the following planes. Management plane, server settings that support administration of the router, including authentication, access control configurations, software updates, with common protocols being applied thereof. We've got the control plane, which is the service, pretty much the same settings as the management plane, with the exception that we support the dynamic operation and traffic handling of the router. The data plane, the same as the management plane, and the control plane, with the exception of the router among the networks it serves. Technology for comprehensive use and security of iOS routers to use to check IPv6 availability of a router before it's delivered. Deployment of Gateway 6, which enables the rapid and low-cost deployment of IPv6 over current IPv4 infrastructure, and used in conjunction with satellite technology that we have, and broadband technology to increase the transmission rate of data. This concludes our initial key technological aspects that we are dealing with at MDG Cyberspace. As next, we're going to go on to our profitability and growth of MDG Cyberspace Tech Pty Limited, which is the global IT networking in the MDG Cyberspace Tech group of companies. We thank you for your time, and may God bless you. Thank you very much.